Have you ever stopped to look at the people who keep showing up in your life and felt that strange, sinking recognition that you have met them before? Not literally, not in this body, but in pattern, in rhythm, in the exact shape of the wound they leave behind. Different faces, different names, different cities, sometimes different decades, and yet the same argument, the same disappointment, the same slow unraveling of trust that ends every time in the same place. You sit alone again, asking the same question: why does this keep happening to me? Carl Jung had a phrase for moments like this. He called them fate, and he warned gently but firmly that what we refuse to see in ourselves becomes the very thing we keep meeting in the world. So tonight, I want you to sit with something, a truth few are willing to hear. The pattern is not bad luck. The pattern is not the universe punishing you. The pattern is a signal, and it has been trying to reach you for a very long time. This is the lesson few dare to follow because it asks something of you. It does not ask you to blame yourself. It does not ask you to apologize for the years you spent confused. It asks something stranger and more demanding. It asks you to finally look at the thing you have been circling for half your life, to stop turning your face away from the only door that actually leads out. You already know the feeling. That moment, 6 weeks or 6 months into something new, when the air in the room shifts. The voice on the other end of the phone takes on a tone you have heard before. The familiar tightness returns to your chest, and somewhere underneath the disappointment, a quieter voice says, of course it is happening again. You are tired. You have done the books. You have listened to the podcasts. You have promised yourself more than once that this time would be different. You picked someone who looked different, sounded different, came from a different world, and still, somehow, the script reassembled itself around you. This is not weakness. This is not a flaw in your character. This is something far older and far deeper than personality. The exhaustion you feel, that bone-level fatigue of repeating yourself across years and across people, is not because you are broken. It is because something inside you is trying with every relationship to finish a sentence that was left unfinished long before you knew how to speak. And the world we live in does not help you hear that. The modern world is loud. It rewards speed. It rewards distraction. It tells you to move on, swipe again, find the next one, stay busy, stay productive, stay anywhere but inside the silence where the real answer lives. The culture you grew up in did not teach you to listen inward. It taught you to look outward and to keep looking and to never stop looking until the looking itself became the wound. So when the pattern repeats, you blame the people, you blame the city, you blame the dating apps, the timing, the bad luck of being born into a generation that has forgotten how to love. And there is some truth in all of that. But beneath all of it is the truth that does not move. The truth that whatever is unhealed in you will keep choosing partners with matching wounds until you finally turn and tend to the wound itself. The modern world will tell you to set better filters, to make better choices, to trust your gut and pick more carefully next time. And there is some truth there, but the deeper truth is this. You cannot filter your way out of a pattern that lives inside you. You can only meet it. You can only learn to listen, because the soul is always speaking, always, even now, even through this. The question is whether you are willing to hear it. Now take a moment, breathe, because here is the reframe that changes everything. What if the person you keep meeting is not the problem? What if they are the messenger? What if every relationship that ended the same way has been, in its own painful and clumsy way, an attempt by your psyche to show you something you have not yet been ready to see? Jung believed that what we do not bring to consciousness will come to us as fate. Read that again, slowly. What we do not bring to consciousness will come to us as fate. The unfaced piece of us does not stay quiet. It does not stay buried. It walks out into the world wearing someone else's face and asks to be loved or fought or fled from until we finally turn and look at it directly. The pattern is not bad luck. The pattern is your unconscious, knocking patiently, persistently, lovingly even, in its own difficult way. It is not trying to ruin your life. It is trying to wake you up. And the people who keep arriving, the unavailable one, the critical one, the one who needs saving, the one who disappears, the one who controls, the one who consumes, They are not random. They are not your bad taste. They are the exact frequency your inner world is tuned to receive. You are not attracting them. You are recognizing them. There is a difference, and that difference is everything. The day you stop asking why this keeps happening to me and start asking what is this trying to show me, that is the day the pattern begins to loosen its grip. Not because you fixed it, but because you finally turned toward it. Your soul is always speaking. The repetition is the volume. It is turning up the signal because until now, you have not been able to hear it. But before you can change who you attract, you must first confront your shadow. And this is where the work gets honest. This is where most people turn back. Jung taught us that every human being carries a shadow. The parts of ourselves we have disowned, hidden, denied, or never been allowed to feel. The anger you were told was unacceptable. The need you were told was too much. The softness you were told was weak. The hunger you were told was shameful. All of it, pushed down, all of it still alive. And the shadow does not disappear because you ignore it. It only goes underground. It learns to operate without your permission. And then, very quietly, it begins to choose your relationships for you. This is what Jung described as projection. The pieces of ourselves we cannot bear to see, we see in others. The neediness we deny in ourselves becomes the neediness we cannot tolerate in a partner. The rage we have buried becomes the rage that seems to find us again and again in the people we love. The abandonment we have not grieved becomes the abandonment we keep walking into, almost as if by appointment. You are not attracting these people because you deserve them. You are meeting them because some part of you is still asking the question you were never allowed to ask. Am I worthy without performing? Am I lovable without fixing? Am I safe without disappearing? Am I enough exactly as I am? The shadow holds the answer, but the shadow will not speak until you stop running from it. Sit with this, the thing you cannot stand in the last person who hurt you. Out, what if it lives in you too, in some smaller hidden form? Not as accusation, as invitation. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Jung urged us toward that cave for a reason. What you find inside is not a monster. It is a self that has been waiting in the dark to be brought home. And the moment you begin to claim those buried parts, the anger, the need, the softness, the hunger, something shifts in the field around you. The people who were drawn to your hidden wound stop finding you so easily. Because the wound is no longer hidden. It is no longer running the show. This is the strange mathematics of the shadow. The more honestly you carry your own darkness, the less you need to outsource it. You stop needing someone else to be the angry one so that you can be the calm one. You stop needing someone else to be the needy one so that you can be the strong one. You stop needing someone else to be the lost one so that you can be the helper. The roles dissolve, and when the roles dissolve, the casting calls stop going out. The same kind of person stops auditioning for your life. You might be wondering, does this mean I caused all of it? No, that is not what Jung was teaching, and it is not what I am asking you to believe. You did not cause the wounding that shaped you. You were a child, and the world handed you what it handed you. What you are responsible for is not the wound. What you are responsible for is what you do with the wound now that you can see it. That is the only fairness available, and it is enough. The pattern is not bad luck. The pattern is the shadow asking to be seen. And now we come to the harder part. The part the script does not want to write and the listener does not want to hear. Because once you see the pattern, you will be asked to let go. Let go of the story that you were just unlucky. Let go of the comfort of the victim's chair where someone else is always the one who failed you. Let go of the relationships that survive only because you keep shrinking to fit them. Let go of the inherited belief that love is supposed to feel like longing, or like proving, or like waiting to be chosen. None of this is easy. Some of it will feel like grief, because it is grief. You're not just letting go of people. You are letting go of versions of yourself that were built to fit those people. The version that was small enough to be loved by someone who could not handle bigness. The version that was quiet enough to be tolerated by someone who could not handle truth. The version that was always the helper, the fixer, the understanding one, because to be anything else felt unsafe. That version of you was not wrong. That version of you was wise in its time. It kept you alive in a moment when being fully yourself was not possible. Honor it, thank it, and then gently let it go. Jung reminds us that change is not an ending. Change is a doorway, and every doorway requires that you set down what you carried in before you can pick up what is waiting on the other side. You will be asked to release relationships that drain you, friendships built on a version of you that no longer exists, family dynamics that demand your silence as the price of belonging, romantic patterns that have rehearsed themselves so many times they feel like home, even though home, for you, has often felt like a quiet kind of suffering. Letting go does not mean hatred. It does not mean cutting people off in anger. It can be done quietly, internally, a loosening of the grip, a withdrawal of the part of you that kept feeding the pattern. You do not have to slam any doors. You only have to stop standing in the doorway waiting for someone to walk through it the way you wish they would. And here is something most people are never told. You can love someone and still let them go. You can wish someone well and still stop building your life around the hope that they will change. Releasing a person is not the same as condemning them. It is simply the moment you stop asking the soup of the past to nourish the body of the present. They were who they were. You were who you were. And the version of you that needed that exact teacher has graduated. Walk on. The pattern weakens the moment you stop performing your role in it. Because patterns are not solo acts, they are duets, and when one voice goes quiet, the song begins to change. Now, and this is where the work begins to give back what it has taken from you. Something extraordinary starts to happen. Jung called it synchronicity. Synchronicity is what happens when the inner world and the outer world begin to rhyme. Not coincidence, not magic, something subtler. The way certain books fall into your hands at the exact moment you are ready for them. The way a stranger says, in passing, the sentence you needed to hear. The way an old name surfaces in your mind in the morning and arrives in your phone by evening. When you begin to do this work, when you turn toward your shadow, when you stop performing for the pattern, when you let go of the relationships that required your smallness, the world begins to respond. Not because the universe is rewarding you, but because you have changed your inner frequency, and the outer world is, in ways more mysterious than we can fully explain, mirroring it back. The right book, the right conversation, the right late-night thought that leads 2 months later to the right room with the right person in it. These are not accidents. They are the soul's way of confirming you are walking in the direction you are meant to walk, and you will know it when it happens. Because for once the encounter will not feel familiar in the old, draining way. It will feel quiet, steady, almost ordinary. And that, you will slowly learn, is the texture of alignment. It does not announce itself with fireworks. It announces itself with peace. Your soul has been signaling all along. Synchronicity is the proof that finally you are listening back. But I want to be honest with you, because this path is not a clean line, and I will not pretend that it is. You will doubt yourself. You will catch yourself, weeks or months in, falling back into the old reflex. The familiar voice, the familiar pull, the familiar person who makes the familiar promise. And you will wonder if any of this work has actually changed anything at all. It has. It has more than you can yet see. But the old patterns do not vanish in a single revelation. They return, especially in moments when you are tired or lonely or grieving or simply human. And when they return, you will be tempted to read their return as failure. It is not failure. It is the second test. The first test is whether you can see the pattern. The second test is whether you can stay awake to it when it comes back wearing a charming new face. The pattern always comes back. The work is in how you respond when it does. Jung taught us that the unconscious does not surrender its territory easily. There will be days when the old story feels more real than the new one. Days when shrinking feels safer than standing. Days when the person who hurt you in the old way looks for a moment like the only person who has ever truly understood you. They have not. They have only known the version of you that was shaped to fit their wound. Do not punish yourself when the doubt comes. Doubt is not the enemy of the path. Doubt is part of the path. What matters is what you do in the long minute after the doubt arrives. Do you reach for the old pattern? Or do you sit quietly and let the wave pass through you without obeying it? Every time you let the wave pass without obeying it, the pattern weakens. Every time. Even when you cannot feel it. Especially when you cannot feel it. The pattern is not bad luck. The pattern is a teacher you have been arguing with for years, and the lesson does not stop until you sit down and finally take the notes. Now we arrive at the practical edge of all of this, because insight without action is a beautiful prison. And what the soul is asking of you here is not just to understand, it is to live differently. This begins with boundaries. The word has been worn thin by overuse, but the truth beneath it is ancient. A boundary is not a wall. A boundary is the line at which you stop abandoning yourself in order to keep someone else comfortable. You will know your boundaries are forming when the word no begins to feel less like a betrayal and more like a return. A return to the body that has been telling you all along which doors should not be walked through. A return to the inner voice that has been whispering, sometimes for years, that something is wrong here, and that you have, until now, talked yourself out of believing it. Jung believed that the deeper self speaks first as a quiet feeling, not a thought, a feeling, a tightening, a heaviness, a small refusal somewhere beneath the words. Most of us were trained to override that feeling, to smile through it, to stay in the room for the sake of the room. The work now is to stop overriding, to trust the small refusal, to honor the inner voice the first time it speaks, instead of the seventh, after damage is already done. As you do this, your relationships will begin to evolve. Some will deepen in ways that surprise you. The people who are drawn to your wholeness, not your wound, will move closer. Conversations will become quieter and richer. You'll find yourself laughing more easily and lying, even small social lies, less often. And some relationships will not survive this evolution. That is the hard truth. People who knew you only in your performance will not always recognize the version of you that has stopped performing. Some will mourn quietly. Some will react with anger because the change you are making in yourself disrupts the unspoken contract you had with them. They are not bad people. They are simply people who do not know how to meet you outside the old shape. Let them go without bitterness. They were part of the pattern, and the pattern is releasing. In their place, very slowly at first, the right people will begin to arrive. People who do not require you to shrink. People whose presence does not leave you exhausted. People who are interested in who you actually are, rather than who they need you to be. These relationships may feel almost too quiet at first, because your nervous system has been tuned to chaos and is now learning the unfamiliar music of peace. Stay with the quiet. The quiet is not boredom. The quiet is alignment. There will be a part of you that does not trust the quiet at first. That is normal. If your nervous system grew up in storms, peace can feel like something is wrong. You will catch yourself almost looking for the conflict, almost reaching to start it, because the absence of it is so unfamiliar. Do not panic when this happens. Just notice it. Name it. Breathe through it. The body learns peace the same way it once learned chaos, slowly, and through repetition, and through evidence that the new ground will hold. And here, at the edge of this final movement, I want to return to something we touched on earlier. Because the longer you walk this path, the more you will see it. The synchronicities will multiply. The signals will become unmistakable. You will think of someone and they will write to you that day. You will set down a heavy belief on a Tuesday, and by the end of the week, the situation that was demanding it of you will quietly resolve itself. You will speak a hope out loud, only once, and watch the world begin to arrange itself around it in ways you cannot quite explain. This is not magic. This is what it feels like to live as someone who is no longer at war with their own depths. The world has not changed. You have changed. And because you have changed, what the world brings to you is no longer filtered through the old wound. The same life, lived from a different center, becomes almost unrecognizable. You will look up one ordinary afternoon and realize the pattern has not visited you in months. The familiar disappointment has not arrived. The old voice in your head, the one that used to ask, "Why does this keep happening to me?" has gone quiet. In its place is a different voice, steadier, older, yours but more truly yours than it has ever been before. That is the aligned life. Not perfection, Not a life without difficulty. A life in which the difficulties no longer rhyme with your old wounds. A life in which the people across from you are meeting the real you, and the real you is, finally, willing to be met. The pattern was never bad luck. The pattern was the doorway, and you have walked through. If something in this has reached you, if any sentence in the last half hour has settled somewhere quiet and true inside you, then take a moment now. Leave a comment, even just a single word, naming what you are letting go of. Share this with the one person you know who has been asking the same question for too many years. Subscribe and turn on notifications so the next signal finds you when you need it. And then close your eyes, breathe. And remember, the soul is always speaking. The pattern was its voice, and tonight, at last, you have begun to listen.